Hey, Pretty Girl Club. I just want to say welcome to all of the new subscribers. If you're new here, be sure to watch the four-part What is an Exotical series. And after you watch that, you can watch this video. This video is about the fluid identity. So, a lot of people, what they don't understand is that here in the exotical space, we have what is called a fluid identity. So, we have the privilege of walking around in society with multiple titles. Okay, so let's take light skinned black monoracial women, for example. If you're a monoracial light skinned black woman, you have the title of being light skinned, you have the title of being black. So you have multiple identities. And you also have the title of being ambiguous because depending on how you wear your hair and makeup, non-black people view you differently than they would view somebody who looks like Whoopi Goldberg, for example. So I'm not saying that these things are right. I know that the society we live in stereotypes people, but that's an example of a fluid identity. Having a fluid identity means that you can jump in and out of unambiguous blackness at will. So a lot of people, what they will do if they're jealous of your fluid identity, they will try to use your own blackness or use your own skin tone as a way to humble you. They want to stop you from engaging in non-black culture. They want to stop your proximity to non-blackness, but it's very hypocritical because those same women from Blackistan are the main ones who will rush to move to white communities. They are rushing to date white and non-black men. They're rushing to date men who look like K-pop stars. They're desperate to get into the Asian community, to the Hispanic community. So they're longing for a multicultural identity, which you already have because of either your appearance or because of your actual racial and cultural background. And so that's one of the main things that a lot of monocultural women get jealous of. They get jealous of your fluid identity. They get jealous of the fact that you get to dip in and out of unambiguous blackness. So maybe you get to go to an HBCU, but you also speak Spanish. You get to have the title of blackness, but you also benefit from an ism. A lot of people in the black community associate blackness with being at the bottom. They associate blackness with struggle and trauma. And so when you are unable to trauma bond with them, it becomes a huge issue. And it's very hypocritical because, like I said, those same women are going behind the scenes competing with you in hopes to snag the white male savior of their dreams. I mean, these are the same types of women that watch swirling content or divesting content. They're the same women that thirst over Asian men, they thirst over Indian men. And then here you are, a naturally born West Indian woman or a black woman with Indian admixture or something. So you already have natural proximity to the Indian culture if you were born with that in your background. And another thing that is a sign of a woman being monoculturally black is hierarchy thinking. Hierarchy thinking is one of the biggest flaws in the unambiguous black community, and that's a part of why I'm glad I am not fully a part of it. This is why I just jump in and out of blackness at will, and by the way, I promote that. So actually maybe I'll do an episode on how to jump in and out of blackness, like how to actually do that, because you can do that with your appearance, you can do it with your social status, you can do it with your dating and relationship status. So maybe I'll talk about that next. But a lot of unambiguous black people feel like their blackness is a handicap. They feel like it holds them back, or they are afraid of multiculturalism. They're afraid of your identity. So they're threatened by you because they have this mindset of, how dare you not look white and get along with white people? How dare you look like me and look black and still benefit from isms? How dare you not view your brown skin tone as a handicap? How dare you successfully become a model or get this white boyfriend or fit in with people from other backgrounds? Get your ass back over here in the black community where you belong. You belong down here at the bottom with me. And so they will say all of these things. They will try to point out your black features or point out if your hair is quote unquote nappy. Let's say you're a biracial person and you have 4C hair or something. They'll try to point out all of your black features as if that is supposed to force you back into the unambiguous black culture. And one of the biggest advantages of being an exotical is you get exotified. So if you are being exotified, you get to pick and choose depending on your mood and depending on your day whether or not you want to represent the unambiguous Black community. This is the same thing that the divestors are doing. That's actual, they are actual unambiguous mono dark skinned Black women doing this same thing. And so the reason they're mad is because you're able to do it better than them because of your actual appearance or because of your actual racial background. Maybe you actually are part Irish. So you could bring that up in a conversation with a white man. Yes, women actually get jealous of stuff like that because that is how male centered they are. A lot of people in the unambiguous Black community have a very white centered identity and a very male centered identity. So this is why they tell you stuff like, oh, well, a white police officer is still going to see you as just Black. They're saying that in hopes to instill fear in you. They want you to be afraid of white police officers because they're afraid of white police officers because that is their intergenerational trauma that they have carried on from their unambiguous Black culture. But if you were raised multicultural, you probably don't identify with that. Like, I love the police. I love the police. I just called the police on somebody a few months ago. So I don't have a fear of the police. I don't have that intergenerational trauma because that's not my trauma. And so a lot of people in the monocultural community, so these are people who have not interacted in other cultures very often, they get jealous because you can't trauma bond with them. So the reason that they call out your skin tone or your nose or your hair texture is because they're hoping that you have trauma attached to those things. They're hoping that you have skin tone trauma because they have skin tone trauma. They're hoping that you have trauma with your features because they have trauma with that. They're hoping that you have trauma with your hair texture because they have trauma and insecurities with that. So they call it out in hopes that your insecurities will put you in your place. That's really what it is. They're trying to put you in your place and they believe that your place is at the bottom. So what they're really saying is you're acting too white. You're trying to be white by representing your Indian identity, or you're trying to be Indian. You're acting too Indian. So how dare you call yourself West Indian? How dare you call yourself Blasian? You're trying to act Asian. Look at your type 4 hair. So they're hoping that your type 4 hair could make you feel inferior to monoracial Asians because they feel inferior to monoracial Asians. So do you see how they're actually attempting to use reverse psychology to humble you out of being multicultural? Meanwhile, this same group of people, the unambiguous Black community, the women in particular, those same women are going behind the scenes hoping to become multicultural and interact in white communities. Women who are monoculturally Black cannot fathom that you are breaking their stereotypes because we all know that every culture has pros and cons, right? Every culture has different intergenerational traumas. Every culture has flaws. And so they don't like the fact that you are multi ethnic and multicultural and that you embrace that. They don't like that. But what they don't understand is just like how unambiguous Black women practice self preservation, multiculturalism is also a form of self preservation. So I have the right to practice self preservation in whatever ways I see fit. So if a part of my level up journey is embracing my background or embracing the way that I speak or, not being afraid of interacting with white people or something, then that's a part of my personal journey. So why should you care about what I'm doing in my personal life? The only reason they care is because they're threatened by you. They view you as their competition because one of the biggest flaws in the Black community is hierarchy thinking. So they feel like you're not high enough on the hierarchy to be acting Asian as a Blasian person, for example, or to be acting Indian. They feel like you're too low on the hierarchy to interact with Indians. But guess what? They don't get to tell you your identity. They don't get to tell you who to interact with. And especially if you have a parent or a grandparent who is from that culture and they raised you in that culture, and especially if you speak a certain language or maybe you're familiar with the music and stuff like that, you automatically have an innate advantage over that other person. So yes, people get deeply jealous of multiculturalism, and this includes other mixed people. Other mixed or biracial people can also be monocultural. And I've noticed that too here on YouTube. I've noticed that there are some people who are biracial, but they're monoculturally black. Like they only hang out with black men. They only date black men. They only hang out in black spaces. They only live in black neighborhoods. So let's say you are another mixed person and maybe you're blacker than them or look blacker, but you're more multicultural than them. So you have more cultural experiences than they do. You can have a conversation in Italian. You can have a conversation about K pop. You know all of the different Indian hair products and stuff like that. They don't know any of that because they're monocultural. And so, even if they are multiracial, they are not taking advantage of their multiracial privileges in the same way that you are. So, what this really is jealousy over your privileges. That's really what it is. They're mad that you're better at privilege stacking than they are. So they have this mindset where it's like, how dare you not be white passing and be successful in the white community? There are a lot of articles that talk about how the more impoverished a person is, the less multicultural they are on average. So a lot of people who are monocultural tend to be less educated. They tend to have less access to resources. So people associate multiculturalism with wealth. They associate multiculturalism with class. And so if you identify strongly as being multicultural, regardless of your skin tone or phenotype, that's very threatening to them because they struggle to fit in other cultures. A lot of people in the black community, one of the other intergenerational traumas is imposter syndrome. A lot of unambiguous dark skinned black women struggle with feeling like they're an imposter. A lot of them struggle with feeling like they don't quite fit in because think about it. If you've grown up with society telling you that your natural features, your hair, your skin, your face, all of your black features are not good enough, a lot of them have grown up with their parents putting hot combs on their hair, putting perms in their hair, doing all this different stuff to them to try to make them fit in. A lot of unambiguous dark skinned black women have been made fun of for their complexions or their noses or lips or whatever their black features are. And so they have decades worth of trauma that they have dealt with. And so when they see you, a multicultural person who doesn't have any of those traumas, who really doesn't care, when they see you kind of jumping in and out of blackness, that makes them very angry because deep down inside, they're actually jealous. They wish that they could jump out of blackness, or they wish that they could jump in and out of blackness at the very least, because every culture has pros and cons. That's why I say jump in and out of blackness because there are still some positive aspects to blackness. I've had a lot of opportunities given to me by the black community due to the pedestal that they have placed me on. And so I'm not trying to brag or anything. This is just me being honest. Why is it only okay to talk about pedestals when you're not the one on the pedestal? No. If anything, people should be listening to the ones who actually are on the pedestal because they get to talk about their experiences. And that's what the exoticals are. Exoticals are all different variations of women of black descent, whether you're half black or full black or a quarter black. We are all different variations of black descent who have been placed on a pedestal. And so that's why people get jealous. They get jealous because you have a fluid identity. So as soon as you get tired of the black community, you could simply go over and socialize in the white community. And you can like get your little charcuterie board and drink some coffee and talk about lattes with Scott. Or you can go to the Japanese market because maybe you're a quarter Japanese and then you can talk to them in Japanese. So you have more options in terms of social status. You have more options in terms of socializing. A lot of multicultural women have more options in terms of dating, and you certainly have options if you can speak more than one language, or if you're familiar with more than one style of music and stuff like that, or maybe even your clothing style, because the way that you dress actually paints a picture of your cultural background as well. So if you know all about Japanese fashion, let's say you're Blasian and you know about Japanese fashion, or maybe you're black and Indian and you wear Indian fashion or something, now you get to blend in more in another culture. And maybe you're monoracially black, but you happen to look like Indian people. Like I know that when I go into the Indian market, nobody looks at me weird. Like I blend in perfectly in the Indian market. I'm not Indian at all. but I naturally blend in there. I don't feel weird. I don't have imposter syndrome trauma. And so Black women, they will try to police your identity because they actually have imposter syndrome. So they're hoping that by calling you out that you will feel like an imposter, because they hope they're really hoping that they can latch on to that insecurity. But if you don't have the insecurity of feeling like an imposter, then they can't latch because you don't have the imposter syndrome. You're not an imposter. You're being your authentic self. You authentically know who you are. You authentically are aware of all of the different cultures. You have friends who are white or friends who are Asian or friends who are Indian. You have knowledge about the different genres of music. You have a whole bunch of dating experiences in other cultures. You have positive experiences with people from other races. So another gaslighting tactic is people will try to say, your white side wants nothing to do with you. And it's like, that's actually not true. Mixed race people, we have family members of other backgrounds who still love us. So that's a silly talking point. You don't know everybody's family. You don't know that person's background. Are you in the room with them when they're with their family members? No. So you technically don't know. You're just assuming based on the rumors in Blackistan what it's like for mixed race people. That's your assumption. And so they're hoping that you have the same imposter syndrome as them because they're jealous of you having a fluid identity. Meanwhile, they're talking about divestment, which is really multiculturalism. Divestment means you are getting out of the Black community. It's almost as if you are abandoning the Black culture, or maybe you're abandoning dating Black men or certain aspects of the Black culture so that you can successfully socialize in another culture. That is jumping in and out of Blackness. Jumping in and out of Blackness is just multiculturalism. So, one of the fear mongering tactics that they will try to give to exoticals is, well, they won't accept you. And it's like, well, yeah, actually, they will, because there are billions of Indians in this world. So, it's actually statistically impossible for me to be rejected billions of times simply because someone is white. So, that's actually a racist comment. Oh, if they're white, they're automatically going to reject you because you're Black or because you're still Black. That's actually a racist comment. You're implying that everybody white is racist. So that actually shows that you have a prejudice against white people. You are the one with the traumas from white people. You're the one that's been made fun of for your dark complexion. And so that's why you try to project that onto others and say, oh, well, you're too dark. You're too Black to look mixed. And it's like, well, you don't know what every single mixed person in this world looks like, nor do you know how society is going to react to that dark-skinned mixed girl. If she goes into a white community and she says, hey, I'm a Caribbean girl, or I'm West Indian or something, or I'm Black and Indian, you don't know that they're going to reject her. You're just assuming that based on your previous rejections that you have experienced. So just because you get rejected every time you go into non-Black spaces, that's not our trauma. That's not our experience. So do you see what I mean? They're trying to force you back into only being in unambiguous Blackness, because if you step outside of your box, if you step outside of the unambiguous community, they no longer have a beauty standard. They no longer have representation. They no longer have someone to live vicariously through. They can't hide behind you anymore because you are admitting that you are different. You're admitting that you have been placed on a pedestal due to your features or your racial background. And they don't like that because they don't have a pedestal. They don't have a pedestal. That's really what it is. And so they're seeking your validation. You staying in the Black community only, that is a form of validation for them because they feel like, look, Ryan Destiny's over here. Justine Skye, she's over here. Beyonce's over here. And so as soon as you step outside of that and say, hey, actually, I identify with the Creole community, so let me go hang out with the Creoles. Oh no, you're too dark to be Creole. You need to get back over here. They're saying you need to get back over here because they're jealous that you're hanging out with the popular crowd. So in their mind, anything non-Black is the popular crowd. In their mind, the Blackness is like the rejects in high school, and then all the non-Black groups are kind of like the popular kids. And so this is very similar to high school. If you were the nerd and then suddenly, you're friends with the popular kids, they're like, no, get back over here. You're a dweeb. You're a geek. You're a reject. You're a nerd. Get back over here where you belong. You can't sit at that table. There's no room for you at that table. So they're hoping to brainwash you back into silence and submission because deep down inside, if you leave them, then they're going to be alone at their table. And they're just going to watch you with the quote unquote popular kids because they have hierarchy thinking. So they believe that beauty exists on a hierarchy. So this is why they make comments and they say things like, you're too dark to be mixed, or you're not even that mixed, or you're not even that light skinned, because in their mind, they believe that light skin or mixed race is all some sort of hierarchy, like it's a competition. And the more white passing you are, the more valid you are. So they believe that the less black you are, the more valid you are. And so if you're too black, they're going to try to use somebody whiter than you and be like, ha ha, look at this other person. Look at Meghan Markle. She's more white than you. So therefore, she's more mixed than you and she is more valid than you. So they're doing that because they hope that you have the same hierarchy thinking that they have. But if you don't have that hierarchy thinking, and if you don't have a hierarchy mindset, then you're not intimidated by anybody whiter than you. Like I'm not intimidated by white people. I'm not intimidated by somebody who's lighter than me or whiter than me or somebody who has more whiteness in their admixture than I do. I'm not intimidated by stuff like that because I do not place whiteness on a pedestal. But a lot of people from the monocultural black community, they do place whiteness on the pedestal. And if you look at the difference between the exotical sphere and the golden sphere, for those of you who are going down the rabbit hole, the difference is the golden sphere, a lot of them were placing whiteness at the center of their mixed race identity, or they were placing non-blackness at the center, whereas over here, we place blackness at the center. So this is actually a blackness centered channel. So I'm actually surprised that we've got divestors or swirlers or people who claim to be multicultural or people who kind of promote non-blackness coming onto a blackness centered channel. So their problem is they don't like the way that you are standing in your blackness. They don't like your black identity because your black identity is different from theirs. They have the unambiguous black identity. You have a multi-ethnic black identity or a multiracial black identity or a biracial black identity or a light-skinned black identity. All of those things are different identities. Yes, your skin tone is a part of your identity. Oh, you're making your skin tone a part of your whole personality. Yeah, because it is. Your personality is your personal reality. How you look affects the way that you are treated. So your skin tone affects how you look. So if you are treated a certain way because of your skin tone affects your personal reality. So therefore, yes, your skin tone and your personality are heavily correlated. And there's nothing wrong with that. So you have the right to embrace your skin tone identity, no matter what it is. And a lot of people who feel like they're at the bottom, they get mad when they can't control you. They get mad when they can't control your identity. They get mad when they can't control your pedestal. And so then they will practice these bad emotional coping mechanisms. And the way that they cope with their feeling of internalized rejection is by putting you down, trying to make you feel like you're too black to fit in with white people, or you're too black to fit in with Mexicans, you're too black to fit in with Indians, you're too black to date an Asian guy, or he'll never like you, or they'll try to use all of these different gaslighting tactics because they're really hoping that you have an inferiority complex like them. And let's think about this. Do you really think that a woman who is happy in her own identity would be so concerned about yours? Because for me personally, I'm happy in my identity. I'm happy in my complexion. I'm happy in my hair texture. So I don't really care what others do with their skin tones, hair textures, or identities. I really don't care. Like, I've never told somebody else, you're too black to be mixed, or you need all four grandparents and your great grandparents and your great great grandparents to be mixed. No, I don't really care because I don't view the word exotical as being a race, first of all. Exotical is self-identified, just like every other identity. Every other identity, you self-identify. Gay and straight, Republican and Democrat. So you identify with everything else yourself, and so why would the term exotical be any different? Exotical is just a self-identified slang term, just like any other slang term you've ever heard. So I would never be threatened by how somebody else self-identifies because another person's identity is not threatening to me. So anytime a person gets mad at how you identify yourself, it's because they are threatened by your identity. They feel like you are replacing them. or they feel like you're taking over. Very similar to how people get mad about the whole. Do you guys remember the like the black jobs comment where he was like, "Oh, they're taking black jobs," or the people that get mad when Mexican people like have jobs. Yeah, they have a fear of being replaced. They are threatened by your identity. They're threatened by your existence as a Mexican person or as a black person or whatever. They're simply threatened by your existence, and they're clearly prejudiced, and they have a fear of being replaced. But I don't have a fear of being replaced. I'm irreplaceable, baby. I'm special. I'm the shit. So I don't care how somebody else identifies. I don't care if somebody's darker than me, lighter than me, more rich than me. Don't care, because their identity can never threaten mine. And for those of you who are spiritual, what God has for you is for you, right? The life that you're supposed to have, it's yours, right? Nobody can take it away from you, right? Because you're special. Okay, so then why are you threatened by how someone else identifies themselves? Do you see how quickly those arguments begin to fall apart? And another thing is when people get jealous of your fluid identity, they will start hurling insults at you and they will say, "Oh, well, you're trying to be white." Like I saw somebody call us, I think it was like Uncle Ruckus. I will say I don't know who that is, but I'm assuming it's somebody who's black who thinks they're white. I'm assuming that's what that means, kind of like an Uncle Tom type of person. They're saying that because you have successfully become multicultural. That's all that means. You have successfully become multicultural, and so the people who can't have a fluid identity, they'll get mad and then they'll start saying, "Well, you're trying to act light skinned. You're trying to act white." They do this to the dark skinned women in this space too. They'll be like, You think you're light skinned. Why? Because she hangs out with light skinned women? Because she has light skinned friends? Oh, you think you're mixed. Why? Because she has mixed friends? No, you're just mad because she has successfully become multicultural. You're mad because she's popular. That's really how it sounds. It sounds like you're just mad because she has the friends that you wish you could have. Why are you mad at who somebody else is friends with? Why do you care about random people and who they hang out with and what color their friends are? Do you see what I mean? Do you see the extreme inferiority complex and the jealousy? I'm too busy living my life to care about who some random girl is friends with or what color her friends are. Oh, well, she hangs out with all white girls. She's trying to be white. She's Uncle Ruckus. She wishes that she was white. She wishes that she was light skinned. That's why she hangs out with all light skins. It's like, no, you sound like you're just mad because she has successfully blended in to that community. And let's talk about fake self-hate outrage. Have you ever noticed the situational ethics when it comes to self-hate? Let's say you have all white friends. They'll be like, "Oh, you're an Uncle Ruckus, you're an Uncle Tom," or if you're wearing a blonde wig, I don't know. They'll be like, "You're trying to be white." But then that same person, as soon as she gets some money, she rushes to move to a white community. She begs for a 9 to 5 job from a white man. She's begging to date non-black men. She's trying to learn the languages. She's trying to learn Spanish. She wants to learn Italian. She wants to learn all of these other languages that are not African languages. She wants to engage in white culture by getting French manicures and drinking French roast coffees or eating European foods or drinking European wines. So none of that has anything to do with self-hating. So do you see the situational ethics? It's situational ethics because they are picking and choosing what they believe is self-hating. So everything you do is self-hating, but everything they do is normal. Do you see what I mean? They're moving the goalpost every other minute to try to call you self-hating as a humbling tactic in hopes that you will stop doing what you're doing. They're hoping that you'll stop doing what you're doing and that you will approximate yourselves back to them. That's what they want. They want you to stop doing whatever you're doing to blend into those other cultures, and they're hoping that you'll go back over there with them because it makes them feel like less of a loser to have you approximated to them because you are their last form of status. They want to ride your coattails. They want to ride the coattails of your beauty. They want to ride the coattails of your hair texture. They want to pretend like they have your hair texture naturally. They want to pretend like they have your parents naturally. They want to pretend like they have your skin tone naturally. They want to pretend like they have your multiculturalism naturally. Like they have your privilege naturally. Or even if you're fake, even if you get plastic surgeries, let's say you're one of those women. Let's say you get a nose job, you get your lips done, I don't know, your chin, whatever surgeries you're getting. Let's say you're doing stuff like that, kind of like on the more extreme side, and you look like a totally different person now. It's the same thing. Suddenly, they want to have all of this fake outrage for you, but do you see them calling out other random people who have surgeries? Do you see them calling out white women who tan their skin or get lip fillers or want to get darker? Do they walk up to those women in restaurants and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you must hate yourself because you're trying to look like a Latina and you're actually an Irish woman, so you're self hating. You need to stop doing that." No, they're not going to do that because they're scared. They're too scared to step to white women, and also they're too scared to hold men accountable. They're too scared to hold other people accountable, but suddenly when it comes to you, then they want to randomly put on their cape and act like they're suddenly this moral person. No, everybody has a different set of morals. Morality is subjective. Your morals are not my morals. I don't have to do what you say. You cannot control me. So once again, they're grasping at straws because they're mad that they can't control what you do with your body. They're mad that they can't control your identity. And they're also mad that you're successful. Like in the case that you look good, and look better than them. Let's say you get a BBL, because I know BBLs are very controversial. So let's say you get a BBL and your body is banging now and you look good and you got a skinny stomach, you know, you got your little BBL, you got a skinny BBL, and so now you look great. They're going to get mad. They're going to get very upset because they're like, how dare you successfully cheat the system? Because that's really what it is. All of the beauty enhancements are a form of manipulation. Okay? So this channel teaches dark femininity. So all beauty enhancements are a form of dark femininity, in my opinion, because you are manipulating a person's perception of you so that you can attain pretty privilege or feminine privilege or professional privilege, whatever privilege you're going for. You are manipulating the perception of others so that you can attain privileges. So for some women, that goes against their morals. Okay, great. So then you stay over there with your morals, and I'll be over here with my lack of morals and my giant pile of money and all of my status and my privileges. Okay, so if you're so concerned about morals, go be a preacher, go be a pastor, go to church, go start a channel, and then reach out to women and tell them, hey, you know, you guys shouldn't wear makeup. But it's always the women who are at the bottom socially who suddenly want to get up on their soapbox and hope to scold you. They want to shame you. They want you to feel bad, but they can only shame you for so long. They can only scold you for so long. I mean, what are they going to do? Keep talking about you every day? Keep coming up to you every day? You got a BBL. Sarah, you got a BBL. Everybody needs to know she got a BBL. People don't actually care as much as you think they do. Shaming somebody for getting certain things done, I mean, it's not really... Usually if a person has gone as far as getting surgeries or like changing themselves, they probably don't care. So yeah, you can talk your shit, but clearly that person doesn't care what you think if they've done something so public or if they've done something so extreme and obvious. Clearly they don't give a fuck. And clearly, wherever they're getting their privilege from, clearly those people don't give an F either. Or their man or whatever, because a lot of this conversation is male-centered. So it's like, whatever man they're with, he clearly doesn't care that she has a BBL because he's still with her, he's still fucking her, he's still paying her bills or letting her be his sugar baby. So clearly he didn't care that she got a BBL. So now what? So your plan to shame a person into silence or to shame a person into behaving how you want them to behave, it didn't work. Anytime someone uses shaming tactics, their goal is to emotionally dysregulate you because your beauty or your newfound privilege, whether it's real or fake, that emotionally dysregulates them. So that's why they're shaming you. It's because they're hoping that by shaming you, they can emotionally dysregulate you. Because by you cheating the system and practicing dark femininity and putting on the makeup or getting the BBL or losing the weight or being multicultural and multiracial and being dark-skinned or whatever at the same time, by you doing all that, you're making them question all of their decisions. You're making them realize that they played the game wrong. You're making them realize that their social climbing tactics didn't work. So they're jealous and upset because they didn't have the strength or the courage or the boldness to do what you did. They didn't have the courage to go and pay $10,000 to get a new booty. They didn't have the courage to get a facelift, so they're walking around with their skin wrinkly. I've literally seen women at work hate on this other woman because she got a facelift. She was like 65 or something. She got a facelift. She looked amazing once she got it done. She looked way younger. Um, and I noticed that the other old ladies, they literally were hating on her. I've never seen somebody be jealous of a facelift. I was like, wow, these women are really hating on this lady. So for some people, they're mad because you have successfully manipulated the matrix. You have successfully cheated your way into whatever the privileges are that you're trying to attain. They're mad because you have successfully cheated your way in. And they're also upset because whatever privileges they were seeking, they can't attain it naturally. I don't believe in the concept of attaining every single privilege in life naturally. You can't. It's impossible because our society is actually set up to where you have to manipulate. Think about capitalism as a whole. In order to become wealthy, you actually have no choice but to exploit people from other countries and have them create merchandise or products so that you can then sell them at a higher price in the United States so that you can make a profit off of it. So that's a form of manipulation, technically. If you are participating in capitalism, you are just as bad as whatever else you're trying to shame. And this is another thing. People will try to shame you for seeking after a privilege while that person is simultaneously seeking after another privilege. So you're trying to shame women for benefiting from isms while simultaneously benefiting from capitalism. You benefit from capitalism. You benefit from lookism if you have pretty privilege. So you're shaming people for benefiting from colorism while you're benefiting from isms yourself. Do you see what I mean about the situational ethics? So the only ism that's bad is the ism that you don't benefit from. Have you ever noticed the hypocrisy? People only shame the isms that they don't benefit from. They don't shame the isms that they do benefit from. I don't see those people shaming capitalism. They still take their paycheck from their job. They don't say, oh, well, it's not fair that I get paid $150,000 and Karen, the receptionist, she only gets paid $30,000. That's not fair, so I'm just not going to take my paycheck. No, they'll gladly take their paycheck and gladly benefit from capitalism. But then suddenly when it comes to colorism, because they're dark skinned, oh, now that one hits different because they don't benefit from that one. So now they're going to get mad at you if you do benefit from that one. People only get mad at the isms that they don't benefit from. But the bottom line is that Exoticals have a fluid identity. Okay, so this channel will continue to promote and support having a fluid identity because that's a huge privilege in our society. You don't even have to divest because you're naturally divested. You naturally have more options because you have a fluid identity. So you're naturally going to attract whatever you want. You're going to have friends of different backgrounds. You're going to have an easier time getting a job because you know how to communicate with people from other cultures. You understand their cultural norms. You know the unambiguous black women who go to a job with non-black people and then the non-black people say she has an attitude? Sometimes that's because of the way the woman speaks, the black woman. So she may not have an attitude. The black woman may not necessarily have an attitude, but because of cultural differences, the non-black people may perceive it as her having an attitude, or she may perceive them as being racist because of the intergenerational trauma that black people have with racism. And so the white people, they may not necessarily be racist, but because of your traumas and their traumas, you're having a misunderstanding. But women who have fluid identities know how to see both sides. Do you see what I mean? Do you see how that's a cultural advantage and how it saves you from a lot of conflict? It makes it easier to navigate through society. It makes it easier to get money. It makes it easier to stack your privileges. Exoticals have a fluid identity. Get over it. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.